Gerald, according to your recent trend analysis, you believe that the worst is yet to come in this crisis. Can you speak on that a little bit?
Yes, the system is being refloated by printing phantom money out of thin air, backed by nothing, and producing practically nothing. They're creating what we're calling the bailout bubble. There's nothing sustainable about this. And when this bubble bursts, it's going to be worse than the dot-com bubble that preceded it. And it's going to be worse than the real estate bubble, the leveraged buyout bubble, and the merger and acquisition bubble that essentially burst in 2008. The whole system of banks loaning money, people borrowing it, and then spending it is unsustainable. For example, in the States, 72% of our GDP is consumer-based. It's lunacy to think that you could consume 72% more than you're producing. So the system can no longer sustain itself. The game is over. They'll keep trying to stretch it out as much as they can and come up with schemes undreamed of. But in the end, we're seeing a major collapse to what we're calling the Greatest Depression.
Okay, so when you talk about the bailout bubble, the current bailout bubble, the antecedents for that bailout bubble would be the housing bubble and collapse. Before that, we saw the dot-com bubble and collapse. It goes back to Alan Greenspan and his famous irrational exuberance speech in which he allowed these bubbles to be festered in the system, and yet didn't do anything on the Federal Reserve banking side to stop these bubbles. And so it sounds like what you're suggesting is that the only thing that's been going on really is that the underlying equity or the fractional reserve banking system, the fraction that's holding the system together, is just being whittled down to an ever less stable component. Is that a good way to...
Not only did Alan Greenspan not do anything, they're the ones that caused it. So let's go back to the dot-com bubble that burst in March of 2005. Rather than letting the $5 trillion be lost from Wall Street, they lowered interest rates to 46-year lows and began the real estate leveraged buyout merger and acquisition bubble by flooding the marketplace with cheap money. So they're the ones that are creating it. Now they're doing it again by having interest rates basically now down to zero. So they're flooding the world with cheap money, and it's creating this giant bubble. The difference is, Max, this time when it bursts, now the government has an equity position in what used to be called private enterprise. They own major portions of businesses. They have executive control and management powers. So now when this system collapses, it's very different from when anything else happened before.
Okay, so to get back to your work, you are simply analyzing the trends and making predictions based on your trend analysis. And so going forward, the economy it sounds like an economy that's not based on incentives in the U.S. at all. It's just based on, I guess you could call it crony capitalism, which is those who have access to credit are going to be able to get ahead, and the days of the American meritocracy are over.
Yeah, we've gone from the entrepreneurial empire to now what Mussolini called the merger of corporate and state powers, fascism. And that's what we're in the early stages of. You have to call a spade a spade. This is unprecedented in American history. You know, I'm no kid. I've been around for 62 years. I'm a student of history. This has never happened before, where the government has bailed out auto companies, brokerages, banks, auto part makers, insurance companies, recreational vehicle manufacturers, boat manufacturers. You could go down the line. And what they're doing in a lot of these things are taking equity positions in it, always with the thing that, oh, someday we'll unwind our positions out of this, and the American people will make all this money from our wise investments.